Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach. We know that becoming the best and healthiest version of yourself isn't just about following macros, a meal plan, or killing yourself at the gym. You have to look at a holistic approach, looking at stress management, sleep, mindset, lifestyle, support system, and of course, exercise and nutrition. I'm your host, Nicole Coyne, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. You can find it on Amazon. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to take one step at a time to becoming the healthiest version of yourself. Today's podcast guest is Amanda Haar. She is one of the lead dietitians at Healthy Steps Nutrition. She also works with a lot of the kids and families here locally at our HQ location. Today, we are talking about back to school. School is right around the corner, and if you are looking to set your kids up for success in academics and in sport, this episode is for you. I hope you enjoy this episode with Amanda Haar, and we will get to it right after this message. Did you know that Healthy Steps Nutrition has a family nutrition coaching program? That's right. We want to help your entire family get healthy. And through this coaching program, you will meet a registered dietitian or nutrition coach every other week for 45-minute consults. These can be in person or virtual. We want to create a nutrition coaching program that the entire family is going to love and get behind, that you're all excited about. We're flexible with our approach. We meet you where you're at. And really, in regards to kids and families, we're focusing on what they want. So let's say you have a son that plays baseball and he wants to get better in baseball. We're guiding those nutrition conversations around fueling for practices and building muscle and recovery, things that they care about because they want to get better at baseball. Maybe you have a daughter who's super into academics and wanting to do really well in school. We're talking about how nutrition is going to help increase mood and energy levels and concentration so that they will do better in school. The truth is, as parents, you're the leader of your tribe, and you need to be bought in with your nutrition coaching program too. That is why we created this nutrition coaching program for the entire family. If you're looking for more information, definitely click the link in the show notes. We would love to help you. You can apply for nutrition coaching right there. All right, let's get to this episode with Amanda Haar. Amanda, welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
Thanks so much for having me again, Nicole. I'm really excited to talk about back to school right now.
Summer is over and kids are going back to school, which means parents need to start thinking about getting into the routine again of getting up early, having breakfast, packing lunches. And there's a lot of confusion about what's the best thing for my kids so that they have energy, they can focus, and we're setting our kids up for success.
Right. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest questions we get from the families who are working with us is, what do I pack in that lunchbox? And there's actually a lot of different ways we like to think about it. You know, what are you packing your lunch in? What are you including in there? What are you letting the kids do versus what is the adult going to do? So let's dive into that full topic together.
I think sometimes parents let kids pack lunches or they go down the aisles and they grab the thing that has the cartoon characters on it or some items that probably aren't the healthiest options. And we don't really think about the ramifications of giving our kids 3 juice boxes in one sitting and all of the processed stuff that's going to cause them to feel really tired in the afternoon and have those energy spikes and crashes and not really the best environment to set our kids up to learn and thrive in school.
Right. And you think about it, and so many families strive to put their kids into the best schools possible, to have the best possible academic performance that they can have. But sometimes we're just missing that foundation of what's really going to help them learn and have memory and behavior and attention span.
It's not only the lunch, like a lot of it's the breakfast too. Like I think we got to start there.
Right.
Because so many breakfast options are loaded with sugar, loaded with carbohydrates. They're not balanced. And again, they're giving our kids an energy spike and that crash, and they're not feeling sustained for very long.
Right. And honestly, I see this with adults, I see this with kids. It's so easy to have a carb laden breakfast without protein and fats with it. And the reason we really want to be adding those protein and fats with our breakfast is that it helps us stay fuller longer, and it helps prevent the blood sugar spike and crash that comes along with having just sugary cereal and milk, or let's say a donut or something like that, that's really kind of a naked carbohydrate itself.
Exactly. So let's dive into some good kid-friendly options for breakfast, some of our favorites. So we want to think about having protein, carbs, and fats. And if we look at the nutrition facts label and it just has a bunch of carbohydrates, we either need to find something else or add some protein and some healthy fat with it. An easy way to do that, that's like a grab and go option, would be a hard-boiled egg, adding that with maybe some oatmeal, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I know our kids love making overnight oats. There's a few different recipes that we'll link in the show notes that are really great. The double chocolate overnight oats is one of Cooper's favorites. She made it this week, and it's super easy for them to make at night, the night before, and then they can grab it in the morning. And a lot of times, if you think about breakfast, it's on the go, right? Like we're rushing in the morning and we need something that's quick, easy. If it's already made and all you have to do is grab it and eat it, prep time is 0 minutes.
Right. And as a parent, that is hugely important to me. I know we struggle with being on time to school just as it is. So to have breakfast made the night before hugely expedites that time in the morning. And so, yes, I love the overnight oats. That's huge. You just don't have to even cook it, right? You just mix it together at night and then grab it out in the morning. The Amish oatmeal is another one that we use all the time for snacks and or breakfast. We load some peanut butter onto there, add a piece of fruit, boom, we have breakfast. And then for us, like a quick thing in the morning that we like to make sometimes is like smoothie bowls, where you're just blending some things up together, enjoying it, and then moving along the way.
Yeah, I think another one for us is the egg muffin recipe. And the cool thing with that one is you can allow kids to be involved and put their own favorite vegetables and meats in there, like ham or turkey sausage or bacon in there, so that you're adding a little bit more protein. Pair the egg muffins with some fruit or maybe a piece of toast with a little bit of avocado. There we go. We have a balanced breakfast.
Right. That's great. And that nice, convenient source of protein is great, right? Like when you put anything into a muffin, it's more fun for kids too.
Right. Yep.
I know my son chose Meatloaf Muffins the other day to make for our family dinner. And my husband was a little bit hesitant, because it's a little bit different than regular meatloaf, but he's like, you know what? A lot of things do taste better when you put it in a muffin form. And I think kids feel the same way.
For sure. So easy, simple options. If you're looking for another grab and go option, the RX oatmeal is one of our favorites. It is already balanced because there's egg whites in there, there's some nuts in there, and you just cook it in the microwave, grab and go. But oatmeal, even putting a little bit of protein powder and peanut butter in after you make it, like regular old fashioned oats, even some of the kid-friendly oatmeals, like I'm thinking like the dinosaur one, we've never actually gotten it, but if you look at the back, it's loaded with sugar. So I think from a parent perspective, we need to turn the box around and look at how much added sugar is in the food that we're giving our kids. And we don't want to have a ton of added sugar, even yogurts.
Right. Definitely yogurts. Right. I mean, there can be 5 grams of added sugar in a serving or 25 grams of added sugar, depending on how that's situated. And I love that, like a lot of times when kids see something in the grocery store that looks really appealing because it has a cartoon character, if they're old enough, that's a perfect teachable moment to turn it around together and say, okay, is this a choice that we really want to have? Or is there something else that might not look as pretty on the outside, but is going to be better for fueling our bodies for our athletics and our school performance?
I think you just brought up a really valuable point. I know when we work with kids and parents, are asking us, hey, my kid is struggling with, fatty liver, or they have high triglycerides, or they need to lose weight. We always shift the goals around related to what the kid wants. So, okay, are you an athlete, right? Like our kids play golf. It is really important for them to build muscle. And we talk about how you fuel your body so that you can get better at golf, so you can have energy for practice. If our kids are really into school and academics, they're going to want to be able to concentrate more so they can do better in school. That's really important to them. Hopefully it is. We're going to talk about that. It shouldn't be about weight or getting numbers down. It really should be about something that they care about.
Right, definitely. And kind of shying away from like, this is a good choice, bad choice, right? That's another thing that we see a lot of, and can be really hard for kids to kind of go through life thinking, oh, I'm having a bad food right now. Like we never want to assign morality to food. It's, maybe an everyday food, a once in a while food, a once in a blue moon food, but nothing necessarily has to be good or bad.
I love that. All right, we've nailed down breakfast. One thing we didn't mention yet is juice. Like have the whole fruit instead of the juice. There's a lot of sugar in juice that we don't need to consume, and there's not a lot of fiber in there. Fiber is going to slow down digestion, keep us full longer. So have a whole piece of fruit, and then instead of having juice, have milk or water with breakfast. Best options. All right, so we've nailed down breakfast. Let's talk about lunches.
Right, lunches. Oh, and there's so much we can do with lunches, right? When we have just a variety of kind of things in our back pocket and kind of a template to go off of, right? And my first step that I love thinking of with lunches is, do we have a good lunchbox that has at least like 3 compartments or more? Because I know I have, friends who just kind of like throw random things into lunches and it's all kind of disheveled. And once we have those good, solid, leak-proof lunch boxes that can hold everything in there, it reminds us that we really need different options, hopefully of different food groups, to round out a balanced lunch.
So let's talk about what this might practically look like. Number one, I think it's important to get kids' involvement in this. Hey, what vegetable do you want in your lunch? What fruit do you want? Let's get you involved. If you're not used to having vegetables, let's incorporate a try day in there and let's get it involved. So you're having some vegetables, some fruit, some whole foods instead of just a bunch of processed carbs, which ends up being what happens a lot of times.
Right. And especially if you get kids involved and they are able to take autonomy of their lunches, that really takes away a lot of stress from parents who might be having to prepare 3-4 different kids' lunches at nighttime. Because I think that's a lot of times where the processed foods comes in. It's like, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to grab what I have and throw it in there. But if the child has autonomy of their lunches, then that's less time that the parents have to spend on that as well.
And I think if you're giving your child autonomy, like having a checklist, okay, do we have fruit in there? Do we have vegetables in there? What is our protein? What is our starch? Like we have to have those balanced macronutrients because it's going to keep us full longer instead of just having a bunch of carbohydrates, which is what ultimately a lot of kids' lunches look like.
Right. And again, it comes back to how that's going to impact their focus and their energy and their mood the rest of the day after lunch. So some things that I love to keep in mind with my lunches is, do I have a source of protein? Do I have a source of complex starch, which is, a less processed food versus a more processed food, and or fruit? I definitely want to have some veggies, and then I want some healthy fats in there, whether it's, put onto a sandwich with peanut butter or with guacamole on the side. Definitely wanting to have that healthy fats in there to keep us full longer.
Absolutely. We always get the individual serving sizes of guacamole, and I'll let the kids we prep a bunch of vegetables on the week, and they will make little snack size bags of what vegetables they want. So whether it's cucumbers, carrots, or peppers, they're putting their little snack bags of the vegetables that they want to dip the guacamole in. Great. Now we have vegetables. We've got some healthy fat. We'll grab some fruit, maybe a sandwich that we're loading up some protein. If we're not having a sandwich, maybe you do like turkey and cheese roll-ups would be a good option to make sure that we're getting some protein in.
Right. And yeah, I love how like sandwiches are so easy, quick, and convenient as long as we're having protein with them. And another thing I think that's cool these days that like bento boxes are kind of in is that like you can really just load it with whatever you want to have. Like sometimes our protein is Greek yogurt with some berries and seeds added into it. Really, the possibilities are pretty endless, especially if it's a cold lunch, right? Like some people might think that's limiting if you're not able to heat up your food, but with even cold lunches, there's so many different options for variety.
For sure. So we want to make sure again that we're having those macronutrient groups. Let's talk a little bit about the liquids that kids are having. So many times it's like Capri Suns or fruit punch, or we actually had a client that worked with you for a really long time, Ashley. And I remember working with her 10 years ago, and her mom was like, yep, I give her 3 juice boxes for lunch every day. And she thought because the juice box said 100% fruit, it was a good option, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we ended up doing is like looking at the nutrition facts of that and showing that it had like 20 grams of sugar per one. We had 60 grams of sugar just in the juice for lunch, not including anything else she had. But we thought, oh, because it said 100% fruit on there, it was a good option.
Right. That's amazing. And when you think about the limit for added sugar that we want for children is about 25 grams a day. Whew, that's a lot of sugar just in your liquids.
Right. And just in one meal.
Right.
So we want to try to, stick with water, have water. If kids aren't liking the taste of water for whatever reason, maybe you flavor it with some fresh fruit, but infuse some fresh fruit in there. Let them decide what fruit they want to infuse in it. Or, maybe you do milk or a little almond milk box. Those are available too. That could be a good option.
Right. And if you have older kids who are in sports or they're sweating a lot during the day and you tend to send things like Gatorade for electrolytes. One thing that you mentioned to me, Nicole, in the past was the Noon tablets.
Yeah.
Our family loves that for something just, besides water, or my kids love sparkling water too, which I think is really fun. It's like a really good soda alternative. Yep. But we love the Noon for just something that is fun because you drop it in, you watch it fizz, and then it just adds a little bit of those electrolytes if you've been really sweating and hot.
Yeah. And I think, we're in South Florida, you're sweating a ton. So that is a really good option. We don't need to have Gatorade. There's more electrolytes in those tablets than there is in a Gatorade without all of the added sugar. So, I think sometimes there's so much misinformation out there. We think like, oh, my kid's playing sports, I have to have Gatorade. No. We can just have water. You can put one of those tablets in, or grab a piece of fruit. Like grab a banana that has a ton of potassium in there, add a little bit of salt to some cucumber slices, and, get your electrolytes through food, not just sugar sweetened beverages.
Right. And I love that component of like the not being so scared of salt, right? Because sometimes our societies become so scared of salt that we're not putting on vegetables or foods and making them taste a little bit healthier, right? So like I know for kids, the better the vegetables taste, the more likely they are to eat them. So would I rather have my kid eat some vegetables with some salt, pepper, and some oil on it, or no vegetables at all? I would definitely take the ones with the healthy fats and the salt added to them too.
We're sweating so much. And when you sweat, you're getting rid of a lot of the sodium, right? The salt. Right. So having a little bit of salt is totally okay. Right. We can normalize salt here.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to make sure to have a balanced breakfast. We want to have a balanced lunch. We want to have a balanced snack in the afternoon. And then I think just for a quick second, we can talk about dinners. Dinner is a really great time to reconnect as a family. I don't know about you, but a lot of my childhood memories revolve around us at the dinner table, talking about our days and just something that went really well. My husband, we had our neighbors' kids over for dinner a couple nights ago, and we all went around. He's like, all right, I want everyone to say the best thing that happened in your day. And I want you to say one thing that you want to work on tomorrow. And so everyone went around, and our neighbors' kids love them to death. They are not the best at eating vegetables all the time. Like we really have to pry it into them. They do a good job, but it takes some probing at our house. But they both said as what they wanted to try tomorrow is they wanted to try another food. And I was like, are you guys just saying that because you're at our house, or are you really meaning that? But they ate a ton of vegetables roasted with some salt on them and a little bit of olive oil. They were really good. They enjoyed them, but it was nice for everyone to go around and talk about their day and, what went well. I think the opposite side of that, and what you see a lot of times that breaks my heart at a restaurant, is you have everyone on their phones. And like, this is the time to connect as a family. Like sit down, have intentional conversations, find out about their day. And the cool thing is when you start asking those questions every day, like, all right, what was the best part of your day? And what do you want to work on tomorrow? What do you want to do tomorrow? Then you have everyone thinking about something positive and how to get better and self-improvement. And that should be what we are wanting to teach our kids to get better every day.
Wow, so many things that come from family dinners, right? In
Yeah.
all directions. That's amazing. And kind of the use of the phones kind of reminds me of the importance of teaching mindfulness through the family dinners, right? Like it's really hard for us to make good decisions on how hungry are we, when are we full if we're on a screen all the time. And even as parents, we can coach that during dinner time. I know with our family a lot, we have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the 3-year-old is still kind of like learning her self-awareness right now. And sometimes she'll ask, can I be done? Because I think she hears that sometimes from cousins or other people around her. And I just kind of turn around and ask her, like, are you full? Is your belly satisfied? And she'll either say yes or no, and then moving on. But if we didn't have that time together, like that would not be a possible teachable moment as far as intuitive eating goes.
Yeah, I think all of these lifelong skills are things that are going to help set our kids up better in the future, and they're never too young to learn intuitive eating and mindful eating and to understand hunger and fullness cues. Like that's a huge life skill that so many adults do not have
Right.
because they've joined the Eat Clean Your Plate club, growing up.
And it's much harder to break that pattern once someone's an adult and has gone through it their whole lives, right? So
Right.
let's start young.
Yes, I love it. Well, Amanda, thank you for coming on and sharing all the tips about healthy eating and getting back to the basics for school.
It's always a pleasure, Nicole. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So if you are looking for more help and healthy recipes, go to healthystepsnutrition.com. We've also created a healthy kids cookbook that's available on Amazon. You can type in AUCOIN cookbook and it'll pop right up. A lot of healthy recipes in there. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on this podcast. It'll really help the podcast reach more people. We'll see you back here next week.